Ron Skolnick, the Executive Director of Partners for Progressive Israel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Partners for Progressive Israel is the American branch of the World Union of Merits. That includes 20 branches around the world, including Israel's Merits Party that support the principles of progressive Zionism. The central pillar among that is that Israel can be and should be both a nation state of the Jewish people, but also a state that affords equal rights to all its citizens. Our former name, and many people still know us as this name, is Merits USA. I think compared to many of the organizations here, we're a bit more political and policy driven. At the end of the day, that's where things are decided in Israel, is in the government and the policy sphere. And so we take the message of our friends on the Zionist left in Israel, we translate it, broadcast it, promote it here in the United States. We also try to build bridges between progressive Israelis and progressive Americans through various hands-on experiences. We'll get to that in a second. Megan? Our vision is based on two pillars. One, I'll use my text. The achievement of a durable and just peace between Israel and all its neighbors, especially the Palestinian people, based on a negotiated two-state solution. That solution, the idea of two states, has sort of become an easy phrase for many to use. So we specify that that solution should be based on the pre-war 1967 boundaries with agreed upon territorial adjustments. The second pillar of our vision is the realization of human rights and civil rights, equality and social justice for all of Israel's citizens and non-citizens, regardless of their ethnic or religious identity, their national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. I'll touch briefly on a few of the things that we do. The crowning piece of what we do programmatically every year is a one-week nonstop seminar in Israel called the Israel Symposium. We're just back, actually, about 2 weeks ago, where participants meet not only with people who support our line, but with people left of us and right of us, with Palestinian negotiators, with activists, with Bedouins in unrecognized villages, with journalists and academics. So we really meet with all the areas of Israeli public discourse. We promote volunteering, for progressive volunteering in Israel. This past summer, we afforded grants to 5 young men and women who volunteered over the summer for progressive organizations in Israel. It's called our Intern in Israel program. And especially I'd like to point to where we figure in the policy world. It's been our job since the organization was in its infancy about 20 years ago to push the envelope of American Zionist discourse. And that today means for us an augmented role for the United Nations in peacemaking, and also our call to buy from Israel and use our purchasing power to buy from Israel, but to cut those purchases off at the 1967 Green Line and reaffirm Israel's legitimacy within the 1967 Green Line, but not beyond it.
So here's a question: to buy SodaStream or not to buy SodaStream?
Depends on where. The last I saw, SodaStream is still over the Green Line. So that's included in our call. But it's, I think the idea is not only buy, don't buy, but relocate, and then buy for certain. We're opponents. We don't see ourselves as supporters of the BDS movement. In fact, we're opponents of the BDS movement. But we do believe that Israel needs to affirm its legitimacy based on the 1967 line, that patronizing settlement products and services undoes Israel's future and its security based on those lines.
Thank you. Phil Getz, who is the digital marketing manager for The Forward.
Hi. As you just heard, my name is Phil Getz, digital marketing manager at The Forward. I want to thank Other Israel and JCC for having us and putting together this wonderful program. I just want to ask by a show of hands how many people here receive The Forward. It's a beautiful site. Okay. And the rest of you, if you don't, there are actually a few copies outside. and you're welcome to take them and perhaps subscribe, which I'm sure you will. So the Forward is actually the United States' oldest national Jewish media company. It was founded 116 years ago, initially in Yiddish, as a Yiddish socialist organ of the Jewish community, primarily on the Lower East Side, and then was one of the first newspapers in the country to actually have national affiliates and in various locations throughout the country. And in addition to its media products, has been around so long that it actually has, oh my goodness, has a wonderful archive. One of the pieces of that archive is a collection of photographs from a lot of the Forward's coverage. This actually is a beautiful photograph that is very rarely seen, and I guess the image that you see here is very rarely seen from the first Israeli election. Jewish Israeli voting in an election administered by Arabs and in an Arab town. This kind of photo is almost seems a little bit ahead of its time and in some ways behind its time. But what we try to do is facilitate a conversation in the American Jewish community about bringing about this fully democratic Israel. You can actually move on the next slide, Megan, if you want. We do it by producing a number of different media products, including our two newspapers, print newspapers in Yiddish and in English. Also a collection of websites and mobile apps and ebooks. We just actually published our first ebook, which is a collection of analysis on the recent Pew study on American Jewry, which is right here. It's called Who We Are Now. And we also try to engage the public, facilitate conversation through sponsorships of various organizations and programs from across the spectrum of the American Jewish community. The General Assembly, which is going on in Jerusalem right now, also the J Street Conference. We also support all sorts of national and international Jewish learning initiatives like Limud, and all sorts of other conferences and things like that.
So, Phil, my question here is about the challenge that the American Jewish community has faced over the last several years about how to have civil discourse around Israel. We certainly have experienced it here at the JCC, and we feel like we're moving that needle quite a bit through this festival and other activities here at the JCC. Is it your sense that we're getting better at talking to one another, or that people are just giving up?
Oh, I actually think we're getting much better at talking to each other. I think that it's actually easy to think that we're giving up because it's always hard. But I don't know, if you just look at the most recent J Street conference, had a number of very unlikely participants and visitors from the Israeli government, for instance. And also on the other side, I don't know whether anybody paid attention to the major Chabad conference that occurred a few weeks ago. But sitting right next to the international president of Chabad was Rick Jacobs, the director of the Union for Reform Judaism, which is a kind of a picture that I don't think you ever would have seen, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, much less 10 years ago. So I actually think that the conversation is actually...
Thank you. Thank you. We're coming down to the wire, and everybody's done great. So our final four. Heartbeat, Shoshana Gottesman, the Development and Communications Director.
Hello, everybody. We're almost there. This is true. Can I hear a hello back? Can I hear a shalom? You can do better than that. Let me hear a shalom. Can I hear a salam? Okay, not so bad. Actually, great. So first and foremost, thank you so much to the other Israel Film Festival for having us here. And as well, it's so great to be surrounded by other organizations who are creating social change. Kol hakavod, kol ektiram. I'm here representing Heartbeat. Heartbeat unites Israeli and Palestinian youth to build trust and transform conflict through the power of music. We are a nonprofit, a music education nonprofit, where we teach music and to teach additional skills with and through music, such as peace building, coexistence, co-resistance, solidarity, and nonviolence. We've been around since 2007. We've worked with over 100 Israeli and Palestinian youth musicians. We are based in Haifa and Jaffa in Jerusalem. And we work with mostly high school aged youth. So you must be wondering, how can music create social change? Well, music historically has been a platform for social change. It is a medium through which ideas, emotions, storytelling can be presented, can be shared, can be communicated, through which you can empathize and humanize with the other. In the context of Heartbeat, our youth come with their own views, and that's actually something that we really pride ourselves upon. So for the question of what is my vision for the future of Israel, as much as I have an opinion, surely I do, I cannot answer that fully without having every single youth musician we have here with me, answering that question with me. And that brings us to the sign, equality. Music is an amazing force, a transformative force through which bonding can happen in the deepest form. And in order to play music together authentically, in order to dialogue together authentically, there has to be equality. And that is something that our youth are co-creating and repeatedly recreating throughout their bi-weekly meetings when they give performances and workshops in the land. We also have a group who is here currently on tour. In order to do this, we help our youth to raise their critical consciousness. It's hard to be youth in an adult-run world, nonetheless, living amidst a conflict. So really, Heartbeat is a place to express these views, to share these views, to bond, to create community. And we have 3 circles of engagement. I'm almost done. Basically, between our chapters of Israeli and Palestinian youth musicians who build trust and understanding amongst each other. Then the second circle is when they give performances and workshops. That brings together their friends and families who have never met before. So they meet for the first time and bond through their children. And then finally, lastly, on the global level, we put music, the music that they co-create, mostly all original music, onto YouTube so it can reach people all over the world, go viral. And this is one of our music videos, if you want to click on it, or maybe not. It's called Bukra fi Mishmish. It means when, basically, apricots tomorrow, essentially when pigs fly, when essentially the impossible becomes possible. You can find us on YouTube and on iTunes. Thank you.
So, so my question is still this question about language.
Sure.
So do all of the kids who participate, are they bilingual? Do they speak Arabic and Hebrew? And to what extent is that a barrier?
So we really have an absolute mix that occurs. Hebrew, Arabic, and English, we're constantly mixing them and using them. It's sort of this cosmopolitan idea, not in the sense of universalism, but in the sense that we cherish and are loyal to the things that are dear to us, to our narratives, and yet we're open to new things and learning new things. So a lot of the songs are a mix of Hebrew and Arabic and English. We are creating our own sort of language in a way, like Mabruzel Tov, which is Mazal Tov and Mabruk. Things like this that are, in a way, creating spaces for possibilities and creating a future together, not compromising on, again, these things that are loyal to us, but creating this shared future where we will all live together in peace and equality.
Thank you very much.